Most people remember 1988 as the year that Phantasy Star landed on the Sega Master System and completely changed what I thought a console game could be. But for me, another cartridge was sitting right next to it on the store shelf that winter. A chunky little 2 megabit game with a cover that looked like a heavy metal album and a title that sounded like it belonged on a fantasy novel. Miracle Warriors, Seal of the Dark Lord. I was a Sega kid through and through, and I loved my Master System. But I also spent a lot of time envying the NES libraries of the other kids on my street. They had Zelda, they had Mario, and Castlevania. They had all the big names. When I told people I picked up this weird RPG called Miracle Warriors, I usually got a laugh and a comment about Sega not having any good role-playing games. And I'll admit, I was kind of skeptical myself. But then I played it, and over time, I began to respect what it was trying to do, and I think it's time that someone defended this overlooked piece of JRPG history. I first saw Miracle Warriors at a local electronics store. The cover art was something else. The North America version had some unfortunate censored art that didn't quite capture the mood, but the title alone hooked me, Miracle Warriors. So I brought it home and popped the cartridge into my Master System. Here's what I didn't know at the time. Miracle Warriors was one of the first Japanese RPGs to reach American shores. It landed in October 1988 in North America, beating Dragon Warrior to the NES by over a year. Some sources even suggest it beat Phantasy Star by a month or two. So Sega had already figured out what Nintendo was still scratching their heads over. But I didn't care about the historical firsts back then. I just remember powering up my SMS and thinking, what the hell is with the layout screen? So if you've never seen Miracle Warriors in action, the screen is split into 4 parts. The upper left shows your party and the environment from a first-person perspective. The upper right is a tiny 5x5 grid mini-map of the overworld. Lower left shows each character's life bar and experience meter, and lower right tracks your party's guilders, herbs, fangs, and character points. And here's what you need to know about how it actually plays. You control a single hero at first, and you need to find 3 companions. Guy the warrior, Medi the Amazon, and Turo the pirate. Each companion requires a specific item before they'll join. Now, here's the catch. In combat, you only ever fight one enemy at a time, and even when you have all 4 party members, only one can attack per turn. The enemy retaliates against that specific character. It's strange. It almost makes your party feel like one character with 3 extra lives instead of 4 warriors that are fighting together. And experience works differently too. You don't get a shared pool of experience points after each battle. Instead, each character gains experience individually when they land hits. That means if you don't use a character in combat, they just won't level up. So you're constantly rotating who gets to attack even when it's not tactically ideal. There are 3 resources to manage. Guilders are your standard currency, herbs heal you after battles. But then there are fangs, which are proof of valor that you can sell for 50 guilders each or trade for exclusive items. And then there's something called character points, which is a primitive reputation system. Your character points go up when you kill evil monsters and go down when you kill friendly NPCs like merchants. If your reputation drops too low, certain towns won't let you in and you're basically out of luck until you grind it back up by killing bad guys. And for 1988, that's a genuinely interesting moral system. So despite some of these clunky mechanics, I have to admit something. After a few weeks with Miracle Warriors, I was hooked. Not just interested, but genuinely addicted. I even started sneaking out of my bedroom late at night, long after my parents had gone to sleep. I'd tiptoe down the hallway, careful to avoid the creaky floorboard near my brother's room, and slip into the living room where the Master System was still plugged in. I turned the TV volume all the way down to 0. Not low, 0. I couldn't risk the music or battle sounds leaking upstairs. So I played in complete silence, the only light coming from the glow of the cathode ray tube. In the dark, I'd grind for hours, walking back and forth across the plains just outside of the first town, farming experience points to level up Guy and Medi. I watched those little bars fill again and again until my eyes burned. I told myself just one more level, but it never was. That quiet, obsessive grind is probably the purest memory I have of this game, and one of those moments of gaming joy I wish I could relive. Now, speaking of visuals, let's talk about how it looks. You move a cursor around that 5x5 grid, and the game teleports you to the square you select. There's no smooth scrolling. It kind of feels more like navigating a spreadsheet than exploring a fantasy world. But look past the interface, and Sega really put some work into this port. The Master System version was a remarkable improvement over the original PC-88 release. The graphics were substantially better than the Famicom version, which more closely resembled the original computer games. The enemy designs are genuinely great. We're talking about 75 different enemy sprites, and only about 3 of them are simple palette swaps. You'll face everything from standard goblins to bizarre guardians of heaven, earth, and hell. The backgrounds perfectly match the terrain you're fighting in, which is a nice touch that showed off the Master System's color palette. The game spans 5 lands across 3 continents, with 4 terrain types. You've got grassland, forest, mountains, and desert. The enemies get progressively more dangerous depending on where you are, with the grasslands being the safest and the mountains being a death sentence if you wander in unprepared. And no, it's not as polished as Phantasy Star. Phantasy Star had 3D dungeons in a more cohesive art style, but Miracle Warriors on the Master System definitely gets the job done, with solid enemy art and some surprisingly creative monster designs that I still remember decades later. Now, here's where things get interesting. The music in Miracle Warriors is damn good! One reviewer called the soundtrack awesome, with rock-inspired MIDI tunes reminiscent of For Whom the Bell Tolls. Another reviewer flat out said the soundtrack deserves an award. But here's what you might not realize. The Japanese version of Miracle Warriors also supported the FM Sound Unit, an add-on for the Sega Mark III that gave games a rich, synth-layered soundtrack. The European and North American Master System models like I had didn't include that hardware, so most players outside of Japan only ever heard the basic PSG audio. But even with the standard audio though, the music's memorable. Yeah, it's repetitive, like most 8-bit RPG soundtracks are, but the tunes are well crafted and just sound great. And for a game from 1988, that's more than most can claim. The overworld exploration theme really makes you feel like you've set out onto a huge world of adventure. And the battle theme and final boss battle music are energetic and sound awesome, even when you hear it play for the millionth time. Let me just say it plainly. I love Phantasy Star, it's a better game. Everyone knows that. But Miracle Warriors deserves more respect than it usually gets. Here's why. When Dragon Warrior finally hit the NES in 1989, it was a revelation for a lot of American gamers. But Miracle Warriors was already there a year earlier, with a party system, a reputation meter, resource management that mattered, and a world that didn't hold your hand. Dragon Warrior was a single character saving the princess. Miracle Warriors was 4 heroes unsealing the gates of heaven, earth, and hell to defeat a demon queen named Terrorin. You tell me which one is more interesting. Now that said, the only things I dislike are these. As I mentioned, a single attacker combat system. There's just no good reason for it. It makes having a party feel pointless. And second, the grind is real. You have to level each character individually, and money is scarce until you find the right farming spots. Third, the translation is a mess. It uses this fake Elizabethan English that's more confusing than it is charming. But the game came with this giant physical map that's not optional. I mean, the map itself is pretty cool, and I remember cherishing it as part of the adventure I went on when playing this game. The thing is, you pretty much have to use it a lot, or you'll get lost without it. But here's the thing. Despite all that, there's something about this game that keeps pulling you back. The dungeons are rare enough that finding one feels special. Bosses do require strategy, not just grinding. And that final riddle about Lassen being twice as fast as other men is genuinely clever puzzle design. Today, Miracle Warriors lives in the shadow of Phantasy Star, and honestly, that's fair. Phantasy Star is a masterpiece, but Miracle Warriors is the weird, ambitious, older sibling that tried things nobody else was trying. A reputation system that locked you out of towns. A party you had to recruit one by one. And if you've never played this game, go do yourself a favor. Find a way to play it. Track down an original cartridge or get the ROM. Just make sure you have that map handy, or you'll wander the 5 lands for hours, wondering where the hell you're supposed to go. It's a genuine piece of history, the first JRPG to make the journey to America, bringing its weird Japanese computer game sensibilities directly into our living rooms. And I think that's worth remembering. Alright, my friends, this is the Retro Gaming Boss signing out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.